everyone. Hi everyone. So I've had this idea for quite a long time in my head, and I've just recently managed to get it together and make them. This is a little one-shot flower press. One shot in the sense that there's room for a flower or a leaf, but of course you can reuse them. So it's designed just to be able to put in your pocket. It's the size of a playing card because that's what the cover is. And you can just go ahead and make one yourself, they're not complicated, or follow the tutorial because I'm going to just explain some of the thought processes behind what I've done, and you may find that they are relevant to you or not, so you can make yours accordingly. So if you're doing for Happy Mail and you want to do just like something pretty rather than functional, if you're doing this concertina idea, leave a space here between each flower, because then your flowers are not rubbing together, and they'll be well protected, so you'll have a blank space next to each sample. And of course you can use that, either stick a picture or write your little greeting or a note to your friend. So that one with the concertina was more of a kind of a Happy Mail idea. That's not what most of them are like. Most of them are literally one shot. So you have one little fold of blotting paper, room for one flower. So I'm going to just pause the camera and get out my glue and stuff, and let's see how we get on. Okay, so I'll just apologise in advance, there's a lot of traffic at home today, so it might be a lot of background noise, I'm sorry about that. Alright, so you've got your playing card, and then you've got a piece of board, and I've used 2mm thick grey board, so it's a recycled material, and you can just cut that exactly the same size as your playing card. I'm not going to give you the measurements because they do vary a little bit according to what you've bought. So the first thing that I'm going to do is glue down my margin ribbon. So you just want a little piece of ribbon or tape or whatever it is you want to use. I've been cutting mine a little bit shorter than the length of my board. As you can see, that's just how I like it, but feel free to do it however you want. And I'm sticking about 2mm of surface to the board there. I'm using American seam binding, which is different to British seam binding, so bear that in mind. This is a more kind of a fabric-y type thing rather than tape. British one is thicker and stiffer. I like this one, but it's very hard to get actually in this country, even hard to get online. Okay, so I glued a little bit on top as well, just to make sure that that's bonded really well, and it's going to be covered up also. And then I'm going to put a little blob of glue here. And and my tie for going around is 55 centimetres. Yeah, centimetres, 55 centimetres. If you want to make a mark to mark the middle, you can. I'm just guessing. That's fine, doesn't have to be perfect. And again, I'm going to just bond it really well by gluing over the top also. And I'm leaving that to dry very, very well. I've been doing mine overnight because I've been making a few for the shop. So just doing them in different stages. Okay, right, this one is your back cover. Okay, so I forgot to tell you what glue I was using. This is Liquitex Matte Gel Medium. You can just use what you have, but that's what I'm using. Okay, so this is my thoroughly dry back cover, and I'm just going to attach it now to the other side. I've lost my glue brush, and I don't need to tell you guys how annoying that is. But these things happen. Okay, so what I'm doing is sandwiching a spare piece of board, the same thickness as my covers, and just making sure that the two covers are actually held together properly. I'm just folding over the seam binding. And the idea of the board in the middle is to give you a little bit of room for your flowers or samples. I'm not keen on this brush, but there you go. And again, I'm going to glue over the top just so that that seals down really nice and strong. And then you can take out that sandwich bit, and again just leave that to dry. Okay, so covers are thoroughly dry, and I've got my playing cards, and one of the features of this idea of using the cards is that they already have a water resistant surface, because the playing cards, they're just made that way to stop them getting grubby from being handled. So they're nice, you can just use them as they are, you don't have to treat them afterwards, which is one of the reasons I liked this idea. And when I'm gluing the cover down, what I've been doing is gluing on the board, because that's raised off your table surface, and so that means you're not getting glue everywhere every time. And I've sanded this one. So again, the board that has your tie on it, that's your back cover. So bear that in mind. And sticking that down really well. The other thing about using the playing cards is that these lovely vintage packs often come like in a double pack with a coordinating design. So you can choose which one you want to use. If you just got a bit of sandpaper, just give it a bit of roughness. That was good timing on Frank's part. A bit of roughness. Frank is our new puppy. So he's doing very well, but he's quite noisy. Okay, so I've just sanded that a little bit. The other thing to mention, which I should have mentioned, is that if you have a super duper corner cutter, which I don't, you could go ahead and before you start gluing anything, just trim your corners of the boards, because the playing cards do have a nice rounded corner usually. And so we're going to cut our corners afterwards with a knife, but if you have a corner cutter that would be even better. So you can do that straight from the start. If you don't, I would do it later for reasons which will be obvious later. Okay, so that's my front cover for this design. I like the idea that you can use upcycled materials in these projects. So these vintage playing cards, which of course you're buying second hand, and then using them for a nice purpose. You can use book pages or scrap paper for the inside. The grey board is already recycled, so basically you've just got your glue and your ribbon. That isn't, unless you can think of something to replace the ribbon. I'm not sure about that. Okay, so press down very well and leave to dry. Okay, so I have a already dry one. I've also cut 2 pieces of book page for the inside, so I'm going to stick those 2. I've been using the Edith Holden books because I love them, and they're also thicker than average, as most of you probably know because we use those a lot. Thicker than average book pages, so they're really nice to use for craft projects and really easy to get them online. Used books, so they're going on there. I'm not doing them all with pictures, some just have writing, which is equally nice. Left the back door open today because it's warm, and there was a lot of birds chirping and bustling about earlier, but it seems all we can actually hear is sirens at them. So I hope the birds come out again. There we go. Okay, and so that's the back on this one. Okie dokie, and leave to dry. Okay, so I've got forward dry covers inside and outside. If the pictures keep changing, don't worry, you're not going mad, but I've just got some at different stages so that I'm not waiting for things to dry. So I'm just going to go ahead now with a craft knife and cut the corners, and I prefer to do this after the card is on, because I think then you can get it more exact, because if your card is just got glued slightly wonky, then this is a bit better, because they do slide about a bit. They're quite a slippery chap to deal with. So the way I'm doing it is actually just making a very straight cut, and just trying to get as close to a 45-degree angle as you can by eye. So cutting the bulk of it away, and then again just cutting two little straight lines. I'm not trying to do a curve because I think that'll just end up messy, but just shaving away, and that actually comes out quite neat. So do that with all 8 corners, and I'll get my ready-made one out. Where are we? Okay, so I've done all 8 corners on this one, and I want to just now get a little nail file, and if there's any rough edges on the, probably easier to see on the back because you've got the straight edged card on there, the playing card, but if you have any little edges that you want to neaten up. And just the thing to bear in mind when you're doing this is that when you are, the same as when you're filing a nail, you want to go towards the middle so that you're not separating the fibres. You want to do the same thing here, so don't go across all the way, because you'll end up lifting the card off the surface. So just try and do it at a kind of an angle. Let me see if I can get on camera there. So you're going up towards the middle, but not directly rubbing on the cards. So probably just doesn't need very much. I think that one's actually okay. Okay, so once you've filed, just give it a wipe to get rid of any filing dust. And now I'm going to seal the edges with some glue. So I'll just get my plastic thingy. I'm just using one of those things to glue on. They're quite convenient, and you can just keep reusing it for ages. You'll find that the glue doesn't even want to stick to the top of the card, so it's easy to do this neatly. You know, you'd have a job to actually make it look messy because of that kind of water resistant surface. Oh, also sorry about the upside down bit earlier on. Good thing I did do it in little stages. So you had a couple of minutes of being dizzy there, sorry about that. So I'm just sealing the board bit, just to give it that extra little bit of water resistance. And I'm going to paint the edges also, but I decided it was better to seal them first. because, as you'll see afterwards, it actually gives a nice kind of vintage look when it doesn't stick all the way thoroughly. So do that with both sides. So my edges are dried, everything is dried, and I'm going to now paint using quite a scratchy brush, an old brush, and this paint by Kuretake, and as with all things Japanese, it is excellent. I like it a lot. I'm just going to pause the camera while I give it a good shake. The colour of this one is called Brilliant Gold Ink Gold Mica. I like this one especially because of the colour. It's quite a yellow gold, and I think that gives it a very kind of vintage look also. As I said earlier, I sealed the edges with glue, and that just goes a little way into being slightly resistant, just very slightly. I mean, you can give it good coverage if you want, but I think it helps. And I've got something stuck there. 1 second. I think just having it so that it's not perfectly covered makes it look good, and just a little bit more kind of worn and vintage looking. So I hope you can see that clearly. I have done minimal kind of decorating, embellishing on this project because I wanted it foremost to be usable and functional rather than pretty. The other main thing to remember about this is that I thought it was a really good idea for a happy mail. Because they're flat, they're lightweight, and very pretty to put a little flower to your pals. So if you were doing this simply for happy mail and not especially to be a functional flower press, you could of course decorate it and embellish it even more. You don't have to do what I've done, but I wanted to tell you why I've done let me get a piece of tissue, 1 second. So I don't really want too much glue on, too much paint on my brush while I'm doing this. So if you wanted just to make it pretty, of course you could distress it and it would look great. The reason I haven't is I think there's a wasp. I'll try and ignore it. The reason that I haven't is because I wanted it functional, because I wanted it to be like something you could put in your pocket or in your handbag. I thought, well, if your hand is slightly damp or your clothes are a bit damp, if it's raining, you're going to get distress ink all over your clothes or all over your bag, which nobody wants. And so I've opted not to do that. But of course, if you're just sending that to somebody, you can embellish it how you want. And distressing would be a great idea. Also, if you are simply sending it in a happy mail, you could even make the boards thinner, just to make it like a little faux flower press rather than an actual one. And don't forget that you can also open it out to post it. You know, if you're limiting how thick you want your envelope, then that's halving the thickness already, isn't it? So that's pretty cool, and I thought a pretty cool idea for a happy mail, because I keep seeing these lists of things to include in happy mail, you know, that pop up on Pinterest and things like that. So I thought that would be a nice addition. Okay, so that's my paint. As you can see, I have sort of done a kind of a distress thing, just gone round the edges a little bit. And that's done with paint. And the only thing left is to seal the covers. So I'm going to go over again with the matte gel medium. So when your gold paint is dry, so let me switch this over. Okay, and here's my glue. This is going to give your inside a little bit of water resistance. If you're not making a functional one, again, you really don't need to do this. But if you're using it for flowers, well, we all know, first of all, don't pick flowers for pressing on a rainy day or if it's damp. But the flower itself is going to have a little bit of moisture when you squish it, and so this will protect your press and keep it nice and keep it so that you can keep using it. And that's that. So let me put that aside. Okay, so once you've put everything together, all you have to decide is what you want to put on the ribbon. So I'm quite liking these ceramic beads at the moment. So you can choose colours according to your cards. I'm just showing you these because I'm putting some on the shop on my website, so there's a few little designs available. That's that one. These two are not double packs, they're like single packs, so they're the same front and back. I had the idea with this Alice one that I would use, because there are some pictures on the other side of the card, but I didn't like them in the end. They're kind of, you know, that grotesque style, which I'm not into, so I've ended up just using the back cover. if you want to put a charm, this is quite a nice idea and a good way to add a charm to a ribbon. So you've got these little jewellery findings, which is like a cone you can just glue the ribbon into, and then it's got a little loop on the end to attach your charm. So that's that. If you don't want to use a ribbon, also just a hair elastic is actually very effective. That holds it together very well, nice and functional, probably less fiddly than a ribbon if you prefer that. So it's been nice getting back with you guys. This project has been sitting around for about 2 months while I'm working up the courage to get in front of the camera again. So I'm looking forward to reading your comments. I hope that you've enjoyed. If you do use any of my ideas for things that you're selling or showing, please do give credit. And you can help me by liking and subscribing. But I've had a lovely time. I hope you have, guys, and I will see you soon. Bye.